I'm Ken Gross, and I've been a Pebble Beach judge for 31 years. I serve on the selection committee, which means I get to curate some very interesting classes of cars. And this year is the 25th anniversary of historic hot rods at Pebble Beach. It's also the 90th anniversary of the 1932 Ford. So we have put together a class of 12 historic hot rods, cars that have been on covers, cars that have been in movies, cars that have made a name for themselves, and I'm very excited that they're here. We took a little flack about hot rods. Deuces and Duesenbergs don't necessarily mix, but they've proven to be very popular. And over the years, we've had sports cars that raced hot rods. We've had those. We've had custom cars. We've had dream cars. And we've had a lot of fenderless, hardcore, badass hot rods. And that's what we've got today. Well, nobody knows the origin of the word hot rod. It started sort of in the 40s. People think it may have been a contraction for hot roadster, but no one knows for sure. It was a pejorative term in 1948 when Bob Peterson started Hot Rod magazine, and people said, you know, some of these guys are street racing and they're outlaws, and maybe we should call it something else. And he said, no, he said, that's what they are. They're hot rods, and that's what the magazine will be. We have a number of very significant cars today. One of my favorites is the green Roadster from the Peterson Museum, which was owned by a famous hot rodder named Ray Brown. And Ray worked for Eddie Meyer Engineering in North Hollywood, and he drag raced his car. He raced it at the dry lakes, and it was his everyday transportation, and he still managed to run it about 122 miles an hour at the lakes. It was restored in the early 1990s, and it's here today, and it's just a wonderful car. Another very important car will be brought by Bruce Meyer, and it's the Bob McGee Roadster. It was built in 1947. It was the first 32 Ford on the cover of Hot Rod magazine, and it has been chosen by the Historic Vehicle Association, the HVA, as a very significant vehicle, and it was on display at on the Washington Mall in their famous big glass cage where they do it. It's also the first hot rod we know that's on a postage stamp. So we're very pleased to have that car. John Mumford from San Francisco will be here with a black 32 Roadster that was owned by a man named Ed Stewart. Ed Stewart was the first guy to figure out that you could heat up, reshape, and drop a front axle and lower these cars 2 or 3 inches for better handling and stability and having them look cool. All these cars have been either authentically preserved or beautifully restored, accurately restored. One other car I'd like to mention, right behind us over here, the red car belonged to a Hot Rod magazine writer named Gray Baskerville. Gray he almost invented his own language when he wrote. He was very colorful and descriptive. He appeared everywhere in Bermuda shorts and flip-flops. That's kind of what his uniform was. And he drove the wheels off his car. It was his everyday transportation, and in time, the motor was almost falling apart. So the legendary Art Chrisman built him a motor for it, and people said, well, let's kind of repaint it. You've had a little accident damage. He said, no, that's the way it is. And as you can see behind me with the primer on the fender, that is the way it is. Now, they probably won't be crazy about that here at Pebble Beach because we like cars to be totally finished. But that's what that car is all about. And in Gray's spirit, I love that it's on the lawn. My 32 Ford is behind us here. It's a car I wanted all my life. And about 25 years ago, I started the project by finding a set of what the hot rodders call rails, frame rails, and a 32 Ford body, and began to collect parts. I spent almost 6 years finding the right parts for this car. So it has Kinmont brakes, of which they only made about 200 sets in the 40s. It has a full race flathead engine with a Scott supercharger. It has a 39 Ford gearbox with Lincoln Zephyr gears. It's got a Halibran quick change rear. So it basically has all the stuff. If you had the nous and you had a little bit of money and you had the ability to work on a car, that's your checklist. It's got it all. And of course, it's got 22 coats of black lacquer, all hand rubbed. And I've been driving it now for over 20 years. It's got about 7,000 miles on it because I have other hot rods to drive. But it's a joy every time I get in it. Full credit to Dave Simard in Leominster, Mass, who built it. Well, it will be fun. My car, by the way, I'm the chief class judge, so we're not judging my car. But I am thrilled to have it on the lawn.